In Hollywood, fake friendships are as valuable as currency. Red carpet poses, half hugs at award shows, and perfectly timed smiles at Fashion Week become front-page moments. But what happens when one of those supposedly surface-level friendships was never meant to be fake? This isn't just a casual fallout. This is about one woman looking at another's life, not her career, not her roles, her actual life, and deciding it should have been hers. Which is where we begin with Blake Lively and Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt has always managed to stay far from the gossip mill. Married to John Krasinski, mother of two, critically acclaimed, her career blossomed with quiet strength while others shouted for attention. She never chased the America's Sweetheart title, yet somehow embodied it in the truest sense. Grounded, respected, refreshingly unproblematic. Maybe that's exactly why Blake wanted in. Because in 2022, when the two women attended a private Chanel dinner in Paris, multiple guests noticed one detail. Blake wouldn't stop chatting with John, at first. It seemed harmless. Typical industry talk about directing. But then the photos came out. Blake laughing too hard, John smiling too long, Emily missing from every frame. Those Chanel snapshots gave off strange energy. Blake and John in every shot, Emily nowhere. And that should have been the end of it. Except it wasn't. A month later, John Krasinski's assistant reportedly received an elaborate floral delivery from Blake. No card, just white orchids, the exact flowers she'd posted to Instagram days earlier with the caption, "For the men who get it." Emily said nothing publicly, but weeks later fans noticed she had quietly removed all old tagged photos with Blake from her Instagram. Subtle, but loud enough. Something had shifted. Still, Blake kept smiling. And then Emily did something no one saw coming. She didn't unfollow. She didn't throw shade. Instead, she invited Blake into her world. Early 2023 brought a quiet announcement through Deadline. Emily Blunt and Blake Lively set to co-star in a psychological drama titled Tether. No hype, no stage selfies, no joint interviews, just a brief note calling it a dual-lead project executive produced by Emily. What most didn't realize was that Tether had been Emily's passion project for over a year. A cerebral, contained thriller about two childhood friends turned toxic rivals trapped together in a crumbling retreat after a mental health crisis. The type of prestige drama you'd expect from Nicole Kidman or Reese Witherspoon. In Hollywood, nothing is more dangerous than a project that begins as one thing and mutates into something else entirely. Tether was never meant to star Blake Lively. Insiders with access to early drafts revealed the original script was designed as a quiet two-hander between Emily Blunt and an unknown British newcomer. Blake's name didn't appear anywhere until the studio stepped in, which left everyone wondering, why invite her at all? The truth, whispered by crew members, was that Emily had a plan from the outside. The casting announcement felt random. No promo rollout, no energy match, and Blake wasn't exactly known for psychological thrillers. But behind the curtain, things weren't just mismatched, they were unraveling fast. Blake arrived late to the table read. She rewrote her wardrobe notes before day one. She insisted her character should be misunderstood, not an antagonist but layered, sympathetic, almost victim-coded. Meanwhile, the director, a longtime friend of John Krasinski, became her target for bonding. Blake leaned on every connection to John, telling stories about their shared sense of humor. It quickly grew uncomfortable. Emily, as always, stayed quiet. But those who paid attention noticed. She began showing up earlier, reviewing dailies herself, sending direct notes to the editor. She wasn't reacting, she was preparing. Then came the breaking point. One crucial confrontation scene. The entire film hinged on it. Two women unraveling in isolation, no spectacle, no stunts, just raw betrayal. Emily's monologue was meant to anchor the moment. Restrained, devastating. But when cameras rolled, Blake went rogue. She cried on a line that wasn't hers. She hurled a chair across the set. She accused Emily's character of gaslighting her in unscripted dialogue. The crew froze. Emily, however, did not blink. She held her character until cut was called, then delivered 6 cutting words no one forgot. Are we filming Tether or trauma? From that moment, Tension shifted into open fracture. Blake demanded her own editor, not a script consultant, not a temp cutter, but a full editor tasked with reshaping her character's arc. Emily allowed it. 3 days later, the editor vanished, walking away under an NDA. Production delays stacked, costs ballooned, and still Emily worked quietly behind the scenes with marketing. Because here's the twist. While Blake was rewriting Tether in front of the cameras, Emily was rewriting the ending behind them. She already had the footage. By the time the third act moved into post, there were effectively 2 versions of Tether. The one Emily had crafted and the one Blake thought she was starring in. Blake didn't realize Emily's real battlefield wasn't the set. It was the rollout. As executive producer, Emily had final say over marketing. And when the first look package went out to the trades, the message was crystal clear. 2 stills. 1 teaser. 0 Blake. The image. Emily alone on a cliffside, hair whipped by wind, expression unreadable. Blake's team exploded. They demanded parody, joint framing, dual billing. Emily didn't bother responding directly. Instead, she sent the studio PR team a new tagline. Some stories belong to those who survived them. Fans noticed immediately. Social chatter questioned why Tether was being positioned as an Emily Blunt solo vehicle when everyone remembered it being pitched as a two-hander. Blake, blindsided, tried to seize control. She reposted an on-set photo with the caption, "This one's for anyone who ever felt erased." But sympathy never came. Comments piled in. "Girl, you erased the script." Another, "Not Blake trying to be the victim in her own mess." And the most brutal, Emily's silence is louder than this caption. Behind the curtain, Emily was already 3 steps ahead. The footage was hers. The edit was hers. The narrative was hers. By the time Blake realized what had happened, the industry had already chosen sides, and that is the power of restraint. Sometimes you don't have to fight in public. Sometimes you just let the work speak. Emily Blunt didn't need to clap back. She didn't need cryptic captions or late-night rants. While Blake Lively was spiraling online, Emily was seated at a BAFTA roundtable, smiling calmly when asked about Tether. Her response became the coldest line of the promo cycle. You don't need to talk over people when you've already outlasted them. For Blake, that was just the beginning of the unraveling. She'd assumed the invitation was guaranteed. Her team had already secured fittings, leaked to Page 6 about her, returned to indie roots, and teased an international moment. But when the official lineup dropped, Emily Blunt was credited as both lead actress and executive producer. Blake? Nowhere. Not on the cast sheet. Not in the press kit. Not even on the RSVP list. She hadn't been overlooked. She'd been erased. Social media caught it instantly. Blake Lively's name missing from the deck? That's not scheduling. That's a message. Her team scrambled. One outlet quoted a source, insisting Blake had chosen to sit out to spend time with family. But the excuse collapsed when Blake herself posted a photo in full glam, gown zipped, captioned, "Sometimes the invite just gets lost, right?" The audience knew she wasn't joking, and they weren't laughing with her. Meanwhile, Emily landed in France with John Krasinski, wine in hand, unbothered. When Vanity Fair asked about Blake's absence, Emily didn't shade, didn't overplay. She simply replied, "We all show up for what we helped create." Then came the real dagger. A leaked memo from a European PR agency revealed Blake hadn't been forgotten. She'd been deliberately excluded. Highlighted in red was the reasoning. Potential brand volatility. Recommend low visibility positioning until final reviews. Translation: the industry itself was beginning to treat Blake as a liability, and then the premiere arrived. For Blake, this was supposed to be her redemption. Even without her name on the official program, her team staged a counterstrike, an unauthorized New York screening, Instagram-only clips of Blake watching the film from a velvet couch, surrounded by stylists and influencers. The optics screamed, "I'm still the star," whether Can admits it or not, but reviews didn't play along. Variety praised Emily Blunt's brutally restrained performance. The Hollywood Reporter credited her with carrying a script that could have collapsed. And the harshest blow, for the role of Alina, casting anyone other than Blunt would have been catastrophic. One viral tweet summed it up. Can't believe Blake almost starred in this. Emily made that role hers, period. The fallout was immediate. Blake went silent. No selfies, no fashion shots, no sponsored posts for 2 full weeks. Because that night, the industry turned the page. And Blake wasn't on it. The final insult came via IndieWire's viral headline, "Emily Blunt's Tether is a quiet storm." If the rumors are true and Blake Lively was once in consideration, then thank God for second chances. There was no subtext left to parse. It was the industry's way of declaring, "We saw what she tried. We know who made this work. And we've moved forward without her." By then, the damage wasn't just professional. The narrative had hardened. Emily had become the face of subtle authority, while Blake was framed as volatility disguised as ambition. Hollywood doesn't forgive easily, and when it does, it never forgets. Blake thought she was walking into her indie rebirth. Instead, she walked into her own erasure. By the end of that month, casting agencies weren't just steering clear of Blake Lively, they were labeling her. And when a leaked memo surfaced, it confirmed what Emily Blunt never needed to say out loud. This wasn't simply a fallout. It was the beginning of a blacklisting. In Hollywood, the word blacklist is never used. Not in official emails, not in casting notes, not on the record. But everyone knows it exists. And in April 2023, someone dropped the proof. A blurry, redacted internal document from a major agency circulated online, quickly deleted but already saved by insiders. It didn't have blacklist stamped across the page. It didn't need to. One line said everything. Lively B. High visibility risk. Recommend avoidance for prestige projects. Q3, Q4. Brand instability noted. Pending reevaluation. Within hours, the doc went viral. Reddit exploded. Substack writers dissected every phrase. Even casting directors weighed in, hinting at quiet corrections in Hollywood. One tweet captured it bluntly. "Don't be surprised if Blake's upcoming projects quietly disappear." And the worst part? No denials. Not from Blake, not from her team, not from the agency. Silence became the strategy. Behind the scenes, reps pulled away. Collaborators scrubbed her name from decks. Brand partners delayed renewals. A veteran PR strategist summed it up off-record. She's not blacklisted. She's benched. Same result, different label. Blake's only response was a cryptic tweet. Sometimes silence speaks louder than spin. The replies were savage. "Girl, silence isn't power when you've lost the narrative." Meanwhile, Emily Blunt was soaring. She walked away from Cannes with Best Actress. Tether was re-released by A24. A leaked paparazzi shot showed her at lunch with Nicole Kidman and Florence Pugh, 2 of Hollywood's most respected low-drama actresses. And Blake? Nowhere. No interviews, no premieres, no invites. Just a fading image in an industry that forgets quickly, but just when it seemed finished, Emily pulled one more move no one expected. She went back to the project that had sparked the entire feud and reshaped it into something bigger. By late 2023, the Tether saga should have been buried. The script was shelved, casting shuffled, and the press cycle moved on. But Emily hadn't. While everyone assumed she'd quietly closed the chapter, she was building her own continuation. It started subtly. She was spotted entering the offices of a discreet independent studio, the same one where Tether's original writer had just signed a first-look deal. Then the whispers began. Emily's not done. She's reviving it properly. Rumors hit trade circles. Emily Blunt was redeveloping Tether into a 4-part limited series. Same writer. Original vision. Zero outside interference. The new title, Saltwater. Same psychological depth, stripped of distractions. No gloss, no PR games, no rival co-star. Just a raw character study, and crucially, not a single casting rumor mentioned Blake. The industry's response was immediate. The same professionals who had withdrawn from Blake's version signed onto Emily's. Cinematographers. Costume designers. Even intimacy coordinators. And then the clincher. Apple TV Plus quietly picked up Saltwater. No splashy announcement, just a deadline blurb. By early 2024, it premiered, 6 taut episodes. Unflinching. Minimalist. Emily's performance drew raves. Critics called it the role of her career, a defining project that solidified her place as one of Hollywood's most trusted leads. And Blake? Her version of the story, polished, rewritten, glamorized, was already irrelevant. Stripped of nuance, Blake's version had long been buried. The footage shelved, contracts dissolved, distribution deal revoked. What remained was the comparison. And Emily never needed to clap back. She didn't post captions, didn't fire off quotes. She simply took the same story and told it the way it was meant to be told. That's power. Reese reposted the Saltwater trailer. So did Zendaya. So did Florence Pugh. And then, on one random Thursday, Meryl Streep responded to the teaser with a single emoji. The message was loud without words, but Emily wasn't finished. Her final move wasn't another performance, it was a conversation. And when she finally spoke it out loud on camera, everyone understood what Blake had really done. Emily had stayed composed, calculated, untouched. Then came the interview. A simple podcast in March 2024. One camera, one mic, one direct question. You've been through a lot. What does it feel like to take your story back? Emily didn't flinch. She didn't smile. She didn't raise her voice. She just said, some people don't want a story. They want a spotlight. And they'll burn the truth just to stand in it. That single line ended the conversation. The clip spread like wildfire. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. Calm. Cold. Like a woman who didn't need revenge because she'd already won. Reaction videos dominated YouTube. Insiders reposted with one word, respect. And for the first time in a year, Blake had nothing left to spin. Just like that, the Blake Lively version of Tether became a Hollywood cautionary tale. Producers whispered it on back lots. Stylists referenced it during fittings. Writers muttered it in therapy. Don't tether the project. Meanwhile, Saltwater soared. 3 weeks at the top of Apple TV Plus streaming charts. Emily Blunt earned her first Emmy nomination for Best Actress in a limited series. The writer signed a 3-picture deal. The message was clear. This was how the story was meant to be told. It could have ended there. But Emily had one last move. And it came without a single word. Not a tweet. Not a statement. Just a quiet shift that buried Blake's brand for good. By the time the interview clip hit 10 million views, Blake had gone silent. No new campaigns. No red carpet invites. Just an Instagram feed frozen in time. Curated, polished, empty. And then Emily made her final play. Not through PR. Not through shade. Through business. She quietly reacquired the rights to Tether. Not publicly, through a third-party holding company. The news surfaced only because of a leaked legal filing with the WGA. Yes, Emily Blunt had taken back the original draft. The one that existed before Blake rewrote it into vanity. She had played the long game. For most actresses, that would have been a trophy move. But Emily wasn't after trophies. She commissioned a rewrite by the original screenwriter. And then she did something no one predicted. She cast the lead. Not herself. Not another A-lister. A 23-year-old British theater actress with no red carpet history and a resume built on Shakespeare. When asked why she didn't take the role herself, Emily said, "I've already lived it. It's time for someone else to speak it." And with that, the narrative shifted again. Blake tried regrouping. Whispers spread about a fragrance campaign. A teaser appeared for a Hulu romantic comedy. A new PR push. But none of it stuck. The audience had moved on. And Hollywood? Hollywood had already taken notes. Blake thought she could rewrite the story. Emily reminded her who wrote the first draft. Even now, industry chatter isn't about Tether's official release or Blake's hijacked version. It's about what it could have been and who it belonged to, and Emily Blunt never once raised her voice. Never threw shade. Never posted a clapback selfie. She waited. She watched. And when the timing was right, she reclaimed everything. Quietly, Emily didn't just walk away from the mess. She walked through the fire and came back holding the match.